Coming into the end of Module 7, you're becoming inequality experts now. And so last section, you were writing and interpreting the inequality. And so now we'll finally get to the point where you get to solve them. All right, so open up your notes to this part. And our essential question today is just simply, how do I solve two-step inequalities? The rules are very much the same. We're going to handle this almost exactly the same as we did with equations, with one small thing you have to watch out for is if you have to multiply or divide by a negative, make sure that you invert, reverse, flip the inequality symbol, okay? So I think over here in questions, I'm just going to do this, and sometimes I make little glasses, sometimes I just make eyeballs, kind of to say, watch out for this, okay? I'll say, remember, flip the inequality when you divide or multiply. So I'll say, when you multiply or divide by a negative. Otherwise, it's very much the same exact process we were doing in Module 6 with solving equations. So put a line under the inequality symbol. Your goal is always isolate the variable, okay? Isolate the variable. So in this first one, not the value, the variable. This first one, your variable happens to be the variable d. So your goal is to get d by itself and undo in the reverse order what is happening to d. We're multiplying, then we subtract. So to go in reverse order, we got to undo the subtracting, add, and then undo the multiplying with a divide. So plus 3, plus 3. Yay, hooray. This goes away because those two add up to 0. And 4d plus 0 is just 4d. I don't bother flipping anything. All I did was add. That's totally fine. Divide by 4, divide by 4. That undoes the multiplication. That gives me a 1 times d, which is d. 12 divided by 4 is 3. Decide, flip or not to flip. I divided, but I divided by a positive, so we are going to leave it as is. Okay, there you go. Let's solve this one. I'm not even going to graph this one. I just want you to get into the process of solving again and remembering that. Your variable is x. Isolate x. Subtract 7 first from each side. Yay, hooray, that goes away. Do not mess with the symbol. It's staying the same. Subtracting is fine. I have to divide to undo the multiplication. So I divide by 2. Divide by 2. That gives me a 1 times x over 1, which is simply x. The number is 2. To flip or not to flip, don't flip. You divide it by a positive value. Done. Next one. Here we go. Add 4, add 4. Yay, hooray, that goes away. 5h, 15. There is no need to invert or flip the symbol. Divide by 5. Divide by 5. This is positive. Do not flip the symbol. H is greater than or equal to 3. Alrighty, so now we're at this point. Serena wants to complete the first 3 miles of a 10-mile run in 45 minutes or less, running at a steady pace. The inequality, 10, that's the 10-mile run, minus this rate is less than or equal to 7. Okay, can be used to find the pace in miles per hour she can run to reach the goal. Solve it and interpret it. So let's start. 10 minus. Now they're using the decimal instead of the fraction. Fractions are our friends. Come on. All right, now hold your horses. We put our line here underneath. 10 right now is positive. If you could, just cover up the minus 0.75p to counteract 10 so we can isolate the variable p, we need to subtract 10. So I'm going to switch colors just to make this really obvious here. We have to subtract 10 because 10 minus 10 goes to 0. If I were adding 10, that would become 20. I didn't make any progress. Okay, so that wipes out. That's why we chose to subtract 10. All right, keep the symbol the same, but now I have -3. All right, now in order to isolate the variable p to solve for it, we're going to divide both sides by -0.75. Divide by -0.75. Okay, so first things first, and just so I don't get in the way of this sign here, I'm going to continue my work down here. This gives me a positive 1p. Good. -3 divided by -0.75 is going to turn positive, okay? And you end up getting 4 exactly. Check it on your calculator. See, in my mind, I would have left it as a fraction, but whatever. However, when we divide by a negative, you have to flip. So this is one where we need to change it from less than or equal to greater than or equal to. All right, so we solved the inequality, did that part. It says graph and interpret the solution. So here's 0, 1, 2, 3. So here's 4. Put a circle there. I have an equal sign, so you color it in. Shade it in, greater than to the right. All right, so that solved it, but what on earth did I just figure out? Or what on earth does this actually mean? Okay, P is the pace in miles per hour. So she needs to run, so this is Serena. So the interpret part here is write this phrase down. Serena must run 4 miles per hour. So if I abbreviate that as MPH, you understand what that means? Serena must run 4 miles per hour or greater, or in other words, or faster, in order to achieve her goal, which is she wants to complete the first 3 miles in 45 minutes or less. So that's why these first 3 miles, she has to run 4 miles an hour or faster. There you go. All righty. Always put meaning to it so that it makes sense to you. That's what we're after. All right, let's tackle these ones. Josh wants to complete the first mile of a 5-mile run in 10 minutes or less, running at a steady pace. Okay, here's the inequality they're giving you. 5 minus p over 6 is less than or equal to 4. And p is the pace in miles per hour. He can run to reach this goal, solve the inequality, and graph and interpret the solution. Now, you might be saying, how on earth did they come up with this? All right. Well, here's really what they're doing. And it might make sense to think of it this way. The first mile, she wants to run in 10 minutes or less. Okay, so in other words, I might think of it this way. Her pace, whatever that pace is, which they're saying is in miles per hour. So how much is 10 minutes in relationship to the hour? 10 minutes is 10 out of 60. That's 1/6. That's why they wrote 1p over 6. Okay, so that's her rate for the 10 minutes. Then they're saying, hey, Let me get my ink back on. I want that to be accomplished in the first hour, in the first mile, okay? And I want to do this at least, okay, for that 1 or 5 minus 1 out of those 5 miles. Now they set it up this way. I might even think of it this way, where you'd have this rate. We want to run 1 mile, or really more than that. We could do more than that in order to get that accomplished. So I might just start like this. They set it up this way, and if you watch for a moment, we're going to take this inequality, 5 minus p over 6 is less than or equal to 4. This is going to turn into exactly that inequality. I'm just saying the way they wrote it might not make sense to you, so hang on. The first thing we need to do is get rid of 5 because we're working our way to get this variable by itself. So subtract 5 from each side. Okay, when I do that, that wipes out to 0, and I am left with this, an opposite sign or a negative sign in front of this fraction p over 6 less than or equal to -1. Now I'm going to rewrite this over here. And what I'm going to do is whenever you see a negative sign or the opposite sign, and I say opposite because I've got this variable here, and I don't know if p is going to be positive or negative, at the moment. Wouldn't really be negative, but just work with me here. I'm going to rewrite it this way. I'm going to say, you know what? Instead of writing that negative sign or the opposite sign in front, I can also put it down in the denominator with the 6, and I haven't changed anything. I'm just simply saying instead of in front, I could put it upstairs with the variable. I could put it downstairs with the denominator of 6, and it's all legal to do. So I'm going to do that less than or equal to -1. In order to get p isolated, you must multiply both sides by -6. So take -6 times this, take -6 times this, -6 times -1. Now notice, I'm not writing the symbol right now until I evaluate this thing. This divided by this, because I have -6 times p divided by -6 gives me 1p. I'm going to go over here. Yay! -6 times -1 is +6. We multiplied by a negative. Flip or invert the inequality. Boom, 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 boom. Now, this, when I multiplied this one by 6, you would end up with this. You'd go times 6 times 6. That ends up dividing to simplify to be 1. And here we go. Same spot. So graph it. Here we go. So if I said here's 0, 1, 2, 3, here's 6. I'm going to fill it in because I had an equal sign. I'm going to shade to the right. And I say, all right, what does this mean? Josh must, because what is 6? This is the pace of miles per hour. So Josh needs to run 6 miles per hour or faster to get that first mile done and out of the way at that pace. Okay, that's what that one means. All right, let's take a look at one more, and then we'll get to the bottom ones here. All right, back to blue. All right, at Gas and Wash, gasoline sells for $4 per gallon. Believe it or not, just a few years ago, it really was that high. We're spoiled right now, and then it's much cheaper. And a car wash costs $12. Harika wants to have her car washed and keep her total purchase under $60. So here's the inequality. $4 times the gallons plus the $12 car wash has to be less than 60 bucks. All right. They're asking you just determine which of these values would be a solution. So we don't even have to solve this necessarily. You could just plug it in. So if you plug in 10, you're saying is 4 times 10 plus 12. Is that less than 60? Well, that's 40 plus 12. That's 52. So, and I should probably say I'm checking G is 10. So that one works. When G is 11, you have to take 4 times 11 plus 12. Figure it out. 44 and 12 is 56. Is that under 60? Yep. If I do 12 and check that one, 4 times 12 plus 12 is 48 plus 12. That's exactly 60. Now, this inequality symbol just said less than, so I can't count that one. Which of these values work as a solution? G could be 10 or 11 in this case, because we're just testing those. Okay? All right. Take a look at this last example. Which of the values make the inequality true? So you are just simply testing it. Plug 9 in. 3 times 9 minus 8. Does that work? 27 minus 8. That gives us what? 19? No. Yeah, 19. All right, is 19 smaller, or I'm sorry, greater than 22? Nope. Try 10. 3 times 10 minus 8. 30 minus 8. I get exactly 22. Is 22 greater than 22? No. Sorry. And finally, the last one, 3 times 11 minus 8. That's 33 minus 8, which is what, 25? That one works. Check the next one. Here's your inequality. They're giving you 3 different values for h. So let's test it. 5 times negative 3 plus 12. Figure out what you get. Negative 15. I get exactly negative 3. Because I have the equal sign, that works. Test negative 4 and see if that works. And then we're going to add 12. That's negative 20 plus 12. I get negative 8. Is negative 8 less than or equal to negative 3? Yes, sirree. And the last one. Let's see. That's negative 25 plus 12. That gives me negative 13. Is that less than or equal to negative 3? Yes, absolutely. All 3 of those are true. Good luck, check Schoology, and may the force be with you.